How's it going? Welcome to Sunny Sheets. I'm Carson, and this video is going to be some bookshelf tours. First half, I'm doing a tour of my bookshelf. Then the second half is going to be Paige doing a tour of hers. It's going to be just a low-key, chill video. Just going to be talking about the books we have on our bookshelves, maybe some stories related to some of the specific books, talking about the way we organize it, maybe pointing out some of our favorites, and whatever else comes up in the conversation. So kick back, relax, and take a look at our bookshelves. So for my bookshelf tour, I'm gonna do it in 4 parts. I've got the top of the bookshelf, and then I have 3 other shelves. So the top of the bookshelf is my TBR pile. These are the novels that I haven't read yet. So my completely arbitrary rule is that I get like 2 stacks of books that can't go past my picture frame. Just an arbitrary way for me to not have too many books that I haven't read. So this is my TBR pile. So I've got Lonesome Dove on here. This is a Western classic, and I've been trying to read different genres, and I have not read a Western before. And I live in Texas, so I feel like I have to read this book. So I've got Lonesome Dove. I have Zodiac by Neal Stephenson. You'll see Snow Crash later in the video, but I really want to get into more Neal Stephenson. And the back of the book, like the synopsis was crazy, and I had to buy it when I saw it in a secondhand bookstore. These two are really like special to me because both my older brother and my dad have both read some books from these series. You've got the Dan Brown books, particularly the Da Vinci Code. And then Preston and Child, they've both rave about Still Life with Crows. But I have yet to find Still Life with Crows in a bookstore, but I always see Relic, and Relic's the first Pendergast novel. So I got that, and I got Angels and Demons. It's also the first book in those series. So I have those 2. And then I've got Authority by Jeff Vandermeer, which I'm pumped to read. It's the second book in the Southern Reach trilogy, and I loved Annihilation, so excited to get to that. Then I have The Escherman was a recent purchase. It's a cyberpunk thriller. I think this is a pretty new book. It came out last year. A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick. I've been super interested to read him. I've heard his books are really out there and really weird. And the synopsis for Scanner Darkly caught me. This was before I really even knew who Philip K. Dick was, and now I know how big and influential of an author he was, so pumped to read that. Then the bottom 2 are kind of mainstream picks in booktube fantasy, but kind of different vibes. You got Piranesi, which is from what I've heard, a cerebral, real strange book about this. I think the main character is named Piranesi, and he's in this space, this kind of liminal space that no one else is in. It's just a completely like infinite void of just him. But I think he's visited once a week by someone called The Other. That's all I really know, but I know people love Piranesi, and it sounds like something I would really enjoy, so I've got that on here. Then I've got Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. I have heard nothing but praise for this book. It's a fantastic standalone grimdark fantasy. I actually lent this to my older brother. He just read this, I think like a week or 2 ago. He finished it, and he seemed to love it, so I'm pumped to read it. So that's the first half. The second half, we have, on the top of the tower, we have, I would say this is the most decisive book I have seen on BookTube, period. Name of the Wind. People either love it, they say it is incredibly written and that it's their favorite book, or people say that it's terrible and they hate the way it's written. Pretty much the only thing people say about it is the prose is incredible. So, and that's not enough for some people. I have no idea if I'll like it or not. I like flowery writing. I like pretty writing like that, so I feel like I'm gonna enjoy it. I know some people hate it. We'll see what happens. Then I have this I bought this recently, The Spear Cuts Through Water. I don't know much about it other than that it's told in a really unique way, and the artwork is really pretty on the front. Here, I'll show you that. It's got some very pretty artwork on the front. I don't really know much about the plot. It's like 2 people from a royal family. Walking a God. I don't know. I don't really know much about the plot. I kind of got it because it seemed like a pretty book. Next on here is Conqueror's Blood by Zamil Akhtar. This is the second book in the Gunmetal Gods series. The Gunmetal Gods is a cosmic horror fantasy series, and right now it has 4 books out. And I loved the first book. Gunmetal Gods was awesome. My brother's borrowing it right now, so it's not gonna be on the bookshelf, unfortunately, but I loved it. I loved Gunmetal Gods. I'm pumped to get to Conqueror's Blood. Dune needs no introduction. I'm sure everyone watching this video knows Dune, but if you don't, it is a science fiction fantasy classic. It's a huge inspiration for a lot of other media that has come out. Dune is an extremely pivotal book in science fiction fantasy, and I'm actually reading it next. I'm doing a read along with Parker Sedekase. He's hosting it on his Substack. I'll put a link to his channel and his Substack in the description of the video. And then after Dune, I've got A Drop of Corruption. This is the second book that follows the Tainted Cup. It's by Robert Jackson Bennett, and it's a fantasy, like bio-fungal punk world murder mystery. And The Tainted Cup was one of my favorite reads of the year. It was absolutely incredible. And I've heard A Drop of Corruption is even better than the first book, so I'm pumped to read that. And then under it, the last book I've got on here is The Will of the Many. I mean, if you watch a lot of fantasy booktube, you have seen people talk about Will of the Many. I'd argue it's the biggest, okay, maybe like Blood over Brighthaven and then Will of the Many are like the 2 most talked about books on booktube, so I'm gonna be reading that. And then this is what I'm reading right now. I'm actually probably gonna finish this today, but this is Ascension by Nicholas Binge. It's a sci-fi thriller, and this is the next book chat video. I'm gonna do a book chat sort of summary on that because I'm gonna finish it today. So now we're hitting the first shelf. So these are my favorite fantasy and sci-fi books that I've read. So starting on the left, we have Dungeon Crawler Carl. That's not particularly a hardcore favorite, but just because of the size, I decided to put it up here. But I enjoy Dungeon Crawler Carl. And I was just mentioning this when I talked about Drop of Corruption, but this is The Tainted Cup. Absolutely loved it. It was such a good book. I think I rated it like a 9 out of 10. One of my favorite reads of the year. It was incredible. I loved The Tainted Cup. Next, we have my favorite series of all time, the Bloodsworn Trilogy by John Gwynne is badass. If you are someone who's into hand-to-hand combat and you like really gory, brutal fighting, this is it. You should definitely check this out. John Gwynne has the best action scenes I've ever read. Incredible. I love the Bloodsworn Trilogy. I mean, if you haven't seen enough, like the Avatar art and the Air Nomad tattoo, and I mentioned it in our very first video, I'm a diehard Avatar fan. And this is what got me into reading novels as a hobby in the first place, were the Avatar novels. So these are my prized possessions, the Avatar books, the 2 Kyoshi books, the 2 Yangchen. Then you've got the first Roku book, and they're dropping the second Roku book out, I think in October. So these are my prized possession books. Absolutely love these. Next, I've got the Poppy War trilogy. Really enjoyed it. Not the greatest fantasy I've ever read, but I enjoyed the Poppy War trilogy. And then we have the Sword of Kaigen, the only book to ever make me actually shed a tear. That book is just gut-wrenching. It's so unbelievably sad and incredible. Best character redemption I've ever read. Just type of, like, I mean, I've just said I'm an Avatar fan, so if you read Sword of Kaigen, you could probably figure out why I love it so much. It is incredible. The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. That was a really early on book for me. I think it was the first fantasy I read after picking up the Avatar books, and it was incredible. I loved The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. And I thought it was gonna stay a standalone forever. The author, Shannon Chakraborty, she had a Ask Me Anything post on Reddit, and she had kind of mentioned that the progress had slowed down when because she was writing the sequel to that. And I never saw any updates, and I kind of just thought the sequel would never come out. And apparently she's finished the draft, and I think it might come out this year. So when that sequel comes out, I'm buying it as soon as possible. Every book's being put down, and that's what I'm reading. I loved it so much. The next are the first two books in the Hyperion Cantos. That's the best sci-fi I have read yet. Those books blew my mind. Hyperion and the Fall of Hyperion blew me away. Absolutely incredible. Loved them. So those are kind of my favorite. I mean, there's a lot of good books under on the second shelf too, but these are kind of the books that stand out and that are kind of my favorite ones so far. So yeah, that's basically. Oh, also on the first shelf, I have my MP3 player and this nice crystal and a wooden toucan. Toucans are my favorite animal. I love toucans. So yeah, this was a corkscrew for wine bottles, but it broke off, so now it's just kind of decor. So yeah, that's the first shelf. All right, now we're on to the second bookshelf. So this bookshelf is basically the rest of my novels. It's the rest of my sci-fi and fantasy. It's got my horror books and my more philosophical and religious text. So I guess starting on the left, we'll just start here and go down. The very first book is my book of shame, Fractal Noise. It is easily the worst novel I've ever read. And I don't mean, I'm not trying to disrespect Christopher Paolini's name. I mean, he's written Aragon and those whole books, and you know, he's a huge author, so I don't mean to disrespect him, but Fractal Noise was not it. Not a great book. Next, I have Snow Crash. This book is super special to me. First off, this physical book, because this is the first book I ever book-bound. Paige and I got really into bookbinding, making our own custom covers, and I chose to do Snow Crash. I mean, it's not well done. This is not centered whatsoever. The spine is too wide, you know, but it's mine. And I mean, and Snow Crash in general is special to me because my dad, it's one of his favorite books of all time, and no exaggeration, for 15 years, he's always said, you know, you gotta read Snow Crash, you gotta read Snow Crash. And I did. And I had mixed opinions. I mean, it wasn't a perfect book, but I loved it. Neil Stephenson, he writes some crazy books. I mean, I was kind of mentioning that when I pointed out Zodiac on the bookshelf. And yeah, I want to read more Neil Stephenson. Next up, I have Neuromancer, which is my second least favorite novel I've ever read, which was super, super disappointing because Neuromancer is hailed as kind of the originator of the cyberpunk genre, and I love that stuff. I love cyberpunk. So I figured I had to read Neuromancer. And the aesthetic and the plot were super cool, but the writing, the writing was so jarring. I feel like I had no idea what was going on sometimes. And I mean, and that took me by surprise because I take notes when I read books, and I mean, you know, I feel like I'm a pretty attentive reader. You know, I'm not like flipping through page, like I feel like I pay attention. In Neuromancer, I just was confused a lot. I didn't know what was happening sometimes. And I just feel like the writing was just very jarring. So yeah, Neuromancer was my biggest disappointment so far in reading. Next is The Forever War, which is a sci-fi retelling of the Vietnam War. Basically the same sort of circumstances, but just with the sci-fi aesthetic where the enemies are aliens and it's super high tech. I think when I first got the book, I didn't really dig into the synopsis that deep. And I was just thinking that it was like a badass sci-fi war story, just like epic fights and stuff. But no, it's more focused on the emotion. It's more focused on the themes of death and of veterans having a very difficult time coming back from war and trying to integrate back into society. And I don't know if I said this yet, it was written by a Vietnam War veteran. So when you're reading the emotions of the main character, it really feels like it's the author kind of putting his emotions into it. And it kind of, it's deep. It's a very emotional book, very deep, which I was not expecting, but it's very good. After The Forever War is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which is a sci-fi thriller book about someone who kind of he's kidnapped and wakes up in a world that is not his. Like, he goes to his house and it's his wife and his kid aren't there. The decor is different, and it's just, he's trying to figure out what is happening and stuff. So I don't want to spoil much, but Yeah, it was a fun thriller book. I mentioned this on the first part of the video. This is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, one of my favorite sci-fi books. It is, I feel like it's more horror than sci-fi because you're given basically no answers. It's just a mysterious, ominous thing that is not explained. It is oozing atmosphere and uneasiness. And yeah, I loved it. Then after that, Out at the Drowning Deep, which was my first book chat video. So if you watch that, you know what it is. If you're interested to know what it is, go check that video out. And if you're not interested, don't watch it. After that, I got Misery by Stephen King. It's the only Stephen King book I've fully read. It's I wouldn't say fun. It's pretty tough to read. I mean, it's pretty awful, but a good thriller book. It was my first thriller, and I enjoyed it. Then I've got Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. Carnival horror is basically the two words I can give it. The carnival horror. This carnival comes into town. It's got some real spooky stuff. The book is less scary and less horror, and I was more focused on how beautiful his writing is, because man, Ray Bradbury's writing in this book is so poetic. I enjoyed it a lot. And then after that is Come Closer by Sarah Gran. It's okay. It was kind of an underwhelming short horror story. It was fine. It was a fun read, I guess. It was fine. And then the last horror book I have is this beautiful edition of The Call of Cthulhu and Other Tales of Cosmic Horror by H.P. Lovecraft. Beautiful book I got for 15 bucks at a used bookstore. And normally I don't really care about sprayed edges, but man, those are cool. Yeah, these books are normally super expensive, but this one was only $15. It was a steal. Next I have Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell. It's a kind of a YA, just fun, kind of lighthearted fantasy series. It's the first book in the series, and I really want to read the second one. I kind of want to continue it. So there's that. Then there's Circe by Madeline Miller. And then The Last Unicorn by Peter Beagle. That was a recommendation that I found from Thomas, who's a fellow booktuber. Thomas's favorite book is A Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And you saw that on the TBR bookshelf. And Patrick Rothfuss, his favorite book is The Last Unicorn by Peter Beagle. Actually, fun fact, in this edition of The Last Unicorn, Patrick Rothfuss does the introduction for it. So yeah, I found The Last Unicorn from Thomas and I read it, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was the book I read before Out of the Drowning Deep. So I read it pretty recently and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun read. Actually, I want to show the cover art. It's one of my favorite cover arts I have for a book, period. It is just stunning art on the front. Very beautiful. So yeah, shout out to Thomas for pointing this book out. You should go check out his channel if you're really into the booktube sphere. You should definitely go check out Thomas. So then for the rest of my books on the shelf, I have A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. And then I have Sasuke's Story. Fun fact about this book, I won't say don't ever, but I very rarely ever buy a book that I don't intend to read. I mean, I buy books to read them. But this one was an exception just because I'm a huge anime fan, by the way. And Sasuke is one of my favorite characters, and this is some of my favorite art of Sasuke. I did buy this with the plan to read it, and then I started reading it, and I quickly realized that I don't want to read a Naruto novel. Like, I watch Naruto, I watch for the fights and stuff, and I kind of just was like, well, I don't know if I want to read it, but I love the art. I mean, and there's tons of like embellishments. Like you've got the Amaterasu flame and his EMS design in the bottom of the book, and it's just a cool book, pretty edition. You can see these little flares and such. Yeah, I like this book a lot. So that's it for the novels, pretty much. Now I've got a few graphic novels. I have Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess manga, and in particular, this has my favorite Link shot of all time. So I love this particular manga book. I won't keep mentioning my love for Avatar. I've got Avatar comics. And then I have Vagabond, which is my next big manga I would love to read. I haven't really read any physical manga as an adult at all. And I've been so interested in Vagabond for such a long time. So I saw it in a bookstore a couple months ago. I had to buy it. At some point, I'm going to finish this. I've started a little bit of it. Let's see. Yeah, so I've read like a sliver. I've read a tiny bit of it. But yeah, I really want to dig into this and buy more Vagabond. Okay, then lastly, move this out of the way. I have my self-help / philosophical / religious section, I guess. So I have the Bhagavad Gita is what I'm working through right now. I'm about halfway through this. It is one of the Hindu texts. It's a poem held inside of a greater Indian epic that I can't remember the name of. So yeah, I'm making my way through that right now. And then I have The Light of Asia, The Great Renunciation, the life and the teachings of Gautama, who is sort of hailed as the original Buddha. So it's sort of an Indian Buddhist book that I want to make my way through. I have not read that. This is the most special book to me of all time. This is The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. Some really good teachings in here that I hold closely. And then I have The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I'm not sure how to pronounce that properly. Next, I have The Spiritual Emerson. He is what people call an American sage, like an American born in Boston in 1800s, but he was really into Eastern religion, and so this is a collection of essays from him that I read one of them. I really need to read more of that. And then I have the Tao Te Ching. It's the primary religious text or philosophical text of Taoism. I have read that. I read that, I think in March. I can't remember. Then I have Become What You Are. Alan Watts is another I guess you'd also call him an American sage. He's just another American man into Eastern religion and Eastern ideas. And it's a collection of short essays from him. And then my favorite, like in terms of just being a physical book, my favorite book I own. This is the Tao of Physics. This is my second book I have bounded. Book I have binded. I don't know. I'm not sure. But this one turned out so awesome, and I used book cloth that feels a lot better. The Snow Crash was kind of velvety. I wasn't a fan of it. But this is a book written by Fritjof Capra. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But it's an exploration of commonalities between metaphysics and Eastern spiritualism or Eastern mysticism. It's not a book I've read a ton of, but I find it super interesting, and I really want to do a deep dive on that at some point.
Hi, it's Paige. It's time for my part of the bookshelf tour. My bookshelf is in a different location and kind of at a weird angle, so I'm going to show you my bookshelf in parts. I've been reading a little bit longer than Carson, so I have a couple more books on my shelf. So that means I'm gonna skim through some of them. If you see something on my shelf that you really like and I didn't talk about it, leave it in the comments and let me know what you think. I'll try to reply. And these are books that I've liked. If I didn't like a book, if I DNF'd a book, I'd probably get rid of it. So I have read a couple more that are on my shelf, and I have a special place for those that I'll actually tell you about in a little bit. I read romance, fantasy romance, and fantasy in general. Those are the ones I'm gonna have on my shelf. And yeah, if you don't like that, you can keep watching or skip to the end. Anywho, let's get into it. Okay, so right now I'm on my YA or romance part of my bookshelf. I'm kind of at a weird angle, so bear with me. I'm also gonna go a little bit in and out of focus. I am so sorry. So right here I have all my Elsie Silver books. I love Elsie Silver. I love all of her books. I love the vibe of all of them. And I think I have one that my sister is borrowing in part of the Chestnut Springs series that is missing. And I also accidentally stole her copy of Flawless and also embossed it. Sorry, to my sister. There is one right here that's actually not a romance, and I have it on my romance shelf. It's The Art of Racing in the Rain. I love dogs. I actually love Formula One, which I'll show you that in a second. But this just fit the best right there. 10 out of 10, loved that book. Now, going through some more of these, it's my generic romance shelf. So I have Lauren Asher with the Dirty Air series. I have a couple Ali Hazelwood, Bryn Weaver for Butcher and Blackbird, Leather and Lark, and Scythe and Sparrow, which I just finished reading. And it kind of goes into a couple dark romance books when we get over here. I have read Haunting and Hunting Adeline, and as well Lights Out, which comes out, I think in a few days when this comes out, which I'm very excited for. So this is my generic romance shelf. Underneath that I have my YA shelf. So I'm gonna start off with Michael Vey. I read this in middle school, and I have it just for fun. I have the first two, Prisoner of Cell 25 and Rise of the Elgin. I think that's how you say it. I need to reread these. I was in love with this book, so I have these on here as well. Let's see, what's another notable? Of course, Shatter Me. I love Shatter Me. I kind of want the novellas, but I can't justify buying all of them. And then, of course, Crave, Crush, Cherish. I'm missing a few from this series for sure. I'm missing, I think 3 or 4 of them. 2 or 3 of them. I'm missing 2 or 3 of them. And Shatter Me and Crave are definitely books that kind of got me back into reading very early college. Like I said in the newbie tag, I definitely read a lot of YA. I'm missing some of the stuff I read for sure because I read that actually on my phone. Yeah, and there's a shelf under here that I can't really see. I mentioned getting rid of books I don't particularly care for, and this is where they get stored until I get rid of them. There's a couple on here that I don't want to get rid of right now, that they don't really have homes. One of them will be From Blood and Ash and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I liked these books. I didn't continue with the series, and I feel bad getting rid of them, so I don't know where those go. As well as The Phoenix King was really good, but I don't want to get rid of it, but I'm not in love with it. So these are kind of books that don't have a home per se right now. I also have my scanner and my embosser down here as well. So this is definitely like a middle shelf. Moving stuff in and out is where this goes, so that I'm not even going to show it to you. Now we're on to the top half of my big bookshelf. I know this angle makes me look kind of short. I am, but bear with me right now. Now this is where I keep Zodiac Academy and Never Keep. I haven't read actually anything else from them, and I really want to. I'm also missing the 9th book of Zodiac Academy and a couple of the novellas, but it's a big enough series that they deserve their own shelf. Moving to the next one, this is kind of a bunch of romantasy. Now, this will be Powerless, which is a YA, but I think it deserved a spot on my actual romantasy section. I have another Jennifer L. Armentrout, Metal Slinger, amazing. The Serpent and Wings of Night, Heartless Hunter, Rebel Witch, amazing. Quicksilver. Let's see, I just finished on Wings of Blood. The second one is getting here in a few days. Spark of the Everflame. Absolutely, absolutely love that series. Cannot wait for the next one. And then I also have Gothicana, which isn't a fantasy. It's by Runix, I believe. I'm currently reading the second one, which is Enigma. So this is kind of a shelf that changes a lot. This is good fantasy, loved it, romantasy, maybe not top tier. I have another little special place for those, but just so overall, really good books. Moving on to my next shelf, of course, you can see the Empyrean series right here. I had to give them their own little spot, come on. And then I'm moving on to some hardbacks that I really, really love. So I have Throne of the Fallen and Throne of Secrets. I absolutely, absolutely love these books, adore them. I need to read Kingdom of the Wicked and that trilogy. I haven't yet. I don't know why, I will. I also have Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. Again, this is technically a YA, but I think it deserved a spot on this shelf. It's kind of a dystopian I don't really know if it's fantasy. I don't know the exact genre description for that, but I love the typewriters. I love them. 10 out of 10. I also have A Fate Inked in Blood and A Curse Carved in Bone. And then, of course, the Hurricane Wars over on here. Shout out to my little sticker, my Fourth Wing sticker that I have right here, which I will hopefully get a little closer for y'all. And then, yeah, that is the top half of my big bookshelf. Okay, another kind of weird spot to be in. I'm sorry. This is also in our bedroom, so I'm kind of hanging out with the bed right now. Right now, on this top shelf, I have my little lamp so I can help read at night. And I actually did a personal book bind of Phantasma and Enchantra. So those are my book binds. I'm hoping to do more. I was really proud of them. And we're going to ignore the fact that Enchantra is a little sideways. It's okay. Then, of course, Sarah J. Maas. I have A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Throne of Glass. I don't think I need to say too much about why these have their own little shelf. Now this shelf is another romantic-y shelf. I have The Plated Prisoner, some of them hardback, some of them paperback. I wish they're all hardback for aesthetic purposes. Don't care too much about it in reality. Let's see, I have When the Moon Hatched on here, some Danielle L. Jensen. Of course, I have to mention One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns. I am getting Carson to read these. He is excited about them. They're an amazing, amazing intro to fantasy and have a great magic system. One of my favorites so far. He also loves playing cards, and for those of you who have read it, I think you'll understand why I want him to read them. I also have Filthy Rich Vampires and Filthy Rich Fae all right here. You can't see some of them. That's Geneva Lee. I absolutely love both of those series. I just read Filthy Rich Fae 2 that came out recently. And it's almost guilty pleasure of mine to read those. And now there's more on that shelf, but those are kind of the highlights of this. And then way down here, what you can't see is actually my TBR shelf. I'm going to keep it hidden because it looks a little messy right now. But it's the very bottom, and it's just, my rule is my TBR cannot extend this shelf. If it's more, then I feel bad about buying too many books. So right now, I'm going to mention what's on my TBR. I have Caraval, another Elsie Silver book, Empire of the Vampire. I will read that book. It's huge, but I will read it. Also, I have Twisted Hate that I need to read. The Never List. I am on the third book of Trial of the Sun Queen, which is Fate of the Sun King. I need to read. And also, I was just recommended Shield of Sparrows, which is coming up soon, that I'm going to read as well. Some more H.D. Carlton on here. And yeah. So that's a quick little insight into my TBR, what books I may be talking about soon. And that is my full bookshelf. I'm gonna go do another quick little tour of some of the small things that I have on my shelf that I think are fun. All right, so I have moved y'all to my phone so I can show you my little knickknacks on my bookshelf really quickly. So right here I have a little ode to Formula One. I'm a huge Formula One fan, and so I purchased this book, and I have my little Mercedes car. I'm missing part of my front wing, and it is very dusty. Please ignore it, but that is a part. So that kind of goes with The Art of Racing in the Rain on my bookshelf. Now I have my little plushies. I have a Kirby one that Carson has bought me. I have two little succulents and the Sailor Moon box. Now moving on, I have this little book nook that Carson, where is it? There it is, that Carson bought for me and we built. Whew. I almost cried building that. I'm glad it's done, but that was a little rough. I have my Fourth Wing sticker right here. Can you see it? Oh, the dust. It says I know exactly who you are. I absolutely, absolutely love that. I have this candle from Trader Joe's on here as well. We go a little down. I used to be obsessed with owls when I was younger, so I have a little owl on here that I keep. And this ring that Carson's mom got me. Yeah, I figured that fit my fantasy shelf. So those are a couple of things that I have on my bookshelf as well. Please ignore how dusty it is. We need to clean it. But that is my bookshelf tour. Thank you for watching and listen to me ramble about my books. So if you liked any of the books, please comment, let us know. We love commenting on our books. So thank you for watching.